Hello and welcome to the workshop. Well, it isn't really the workshop, it's actually my dining room table, and I can tell you that many a feast has been enjoyed on here. But for today, we've protected the table. I've got a nice cloth over it because I'm going to be doing some hobby work on it. And what I'm going to be doing is making an MDF building in 28mm that we can use for chain of command. The building I'm going to be putting together is the hotel from Charlie Foxtrot. It's came out earlier this year in, I think, April or possibly May. It's the Desire in Goof. Now this is based on a hotel in Carentan, very famously seen in photographs of US airborne, etc. in the Normandy invasion. And it was brought up by Charlie Foxtrot, and I'm very, very keen to have a go at putting this together. This is a big kit. It's got lots and lots of pieces in it. It's been in my garage for a little while, but it's been bagged up. I'm confident all the bits are there. Now, it also comes with instructions, which I'm really interested to look at and see how good they are in terms of helping us to build something. I'm not really good at this kind of stuff. It's not really my forte to build these kind of things, but I reckon that with MDF, you know, I'll be okay. I've made a few things in the past. I'll have a very simple style of working with this kind of stuff, which I'll show you in a minute. Now, I also see from in here that there's not only MDF, there's also bits of plastic. So we've got some guttering, it looks like, and some ridge tiles. And I think what's really interesting with MDF, and certainly with Charlie Foxtrot, is that actually there's an understanding that, you know what, there's some things that don't quite work in MDF, but to really add some of those finishes, they need to be done with plastic. So I'm really pleased to see there's some plastic in there, because I'm hopeful that will give us a really good look at the end of it. I'm going to make the model straight from the bag and see where that takes us. So this first build will be about actually putting it together and making the outer shell of the building, I guess. Along the way, I'm going to have to decide about which bits I want to be in situ, like do I want doors closed, do I want doors open, do I want shutters, which bits of the roof do I want to be able to access, etc. So we'll have to struggle our way through that. But I'm very interested to see how it goes. So it's a 28mm Charlie Foxtrot Models, and it's 1/56 scale, or I like 1/48 really, but I'm sure that'll be fine. Okay, so that's what we're going to make. Now, I don't have lots of time available to me to spend on the kind of projects, so I adopt a fast and practical way of working. I do what people tell you should never do, and is I build MDF models using superglue. Now, this is a superglue that I got online for just a few quid. It's powerful stuff, it does the job. I'm sure that I will stick my fingers together, but if I'm careful with it, then I should get good outcomes. I've used it successfully in the past, and people moan about superglue, but actually I find it's okay, and it's good if you want to work quickly. You don't have to wait for it to dry, obviously. It sets really quite quickly, holds something in place, but of course it's important that you get it right, because repositioning, whilst not impossible, is not really very, very easy. So I'll be using superglue to help me put the kit together. That's really important. And the second thing I'll be using, and these are the only two bits of kit, by the way, that I think I will be using to do this. The second thing that I'll be using is a simple hobby knife to help me just, you know, knock off the kind of little bits of lugs or cut plastic that I think I'm going to need. So, armed with my hobby knife and armed with my super glue and armed with the model, let's get to work. Now, I've added my trusty X-cut mat just to make sure that the table is well and truly protected, because I really wouldn't want to get into trouble with the management. So let's open the bag and see what we have in here. Love the smell of MDF in the morning. We've got lots of it in here as well. Goodness me, there's loads of stuff. Now, unusually actually in my experience of MDF, what you get with Charlie Foxtrot is you don't get necessarily big sheets of stuff like that. where everything is on a sprue or cut out of a frame. A lot of the time with Charlie Foxtrot, what you get are individual pieces, which actually saves you taking it out of the sprue, I guess. Now we can really see on here some of the more interesting details that Colin at Charlie Foxtrot has put on here. So we've got the heading for the Hotel du Soleil Levant and Dessert in Gouffre Restaurateur. That sounds interesting. So that's going to be the front of it. The buildings and windows are on there. This is a flat bit. Somewhere in here we've got some instructions. Here we go. Instructions. Always, says Colin, always dry run parts before gluing with a quality woodwork PVA. So I'm already going to be breaking the rules. But hey, that's the way we like to live. So here we've got a framework, a template of how the pieces go together. Place the ground floor with the extension to your right and glue the long wall back. Locate the wall in 2 slots on the floor. Blah, 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 blah. Who really reads instructions when all we want is pictures? So there's some good detail here actually from Colin about how we can put this together. And he's even put a few tips on here about how you should paint the inside of the dormers before gluing on the dormer roofs, etc. Well, I may or may not follow that. We'll see how that goes. So one sheet of instructions there, which is quite helpful to us. And let me put that there. And then let's have a look at what we've got. Well, goodness me, lots of it. So as I said, there's some plastic here, which is for guttering or for ridge pieces. This looks to me to be a floor mat of some kind. These are the dormers. They are on the sprue, so it would be important I get those right. Put those over there. Okay, we've got some other bits here. This is the roof again, so I'm trying to sort these into bits now. Roof. That's obviously a facade. These look to be the exterior walls. There's what I believe would probably be upstairs floor there. Put that over there. Oh my god, there is loads of it. So I really don't know where I'm going to start with this, to be absolutely truthful with you. At this stage like this, you kind of look at it, you think, oh my god, am I really going to do this one? And I'll put it back in the bag and go and buy one that's already made. Well, I guess you could do that, but it's not as much fun, is it? So we've got bits everywhere here. So where do we start? Well, I guess we start with Colin's magic diagram. There we go. So let's clear a space so I can get the bits that I need. So I'm going to just scatter these around me so I can find the bit that I need visually by doing a scan of the tabletop. That's going to be quite helpful to me, I reckon. Okay, right, so we've got what looks to be a floor plan, which appears to be, according to this diagram here anyway, if I position my floor so it looks like this, I could be starting at the right point. So I'm just going to put these things together without gluing, obviously, because that would seem to be a sensible approach to take, and just see how things might look. So we might have, for instance, have this piece looks like it goes on the front here, and then we've got a bit that looks like this, which we reckon goes down the side here. So obviously with MDF, the clues kind of in the way the wood is cut. Manufacturers of MDF, as we know, they don't put lugs where they don't need lugs, right? So lugs and slots and little cuts and holes are important because they're going to help you get the right thing in the right place. So far I reckon that looks a little bit like the diagram. Okay, so that's 2 bits that look like they go there. On this end it looks like we have another piece of wall which could be that one but isn't, and the reason I know it isn't is because the lugs are the wrong size. Let me put that together on there. You see that won't fit on, so I need another piece that's going to fit on the end there. And so let me see if I can see one that seems like it might fit. So okay, so I think that bit there looks like it sort of goes, might be the bit that fit there, or maybe that would fit across the back there. I think that might be the bit that goes across the back there, because that has no windows on it. Under here we've probably got the piece that I need, which is that one there, which goes on there like that. Whoopsie daisy, and there the whole thing collapses, but at least I know so far I've got the right bits in the right rough order. And then through the middle it looks like I'll be reaching for this piece which looks like it's the piece that goes through the middle there to connect up like that. So that all seems to fit. So far so good. That will go in there. Yeah, I can now see how this will go. That goes on there. And there is something obviously that goes on the back there, which is actually a wall, which I reckon is probably that wall there. Yeah, that goes there. And then that completes the frame of the downstairs. Right, so I'm going to start gluing. Put that out there like that. That's going to work really well. So I'm going to start here. Here we go. Reach for the trusty glue. So I'm going to put some where I know the wood's going to come together. Again, because it's super glue, I actually only need a few dabs of this. So working quite carefully with the glue, I'm going to put that together. So the lugs are going to come together. So on the base there to hold that in. Right, so if we can get that on there like that, hopefully that should come together. And we will find that we've now got the benefit of using super glue is that pretty much the building is already you know, firm and put together, and hopefully I haven't cocked any bits up, because if I have, it is quite hard to take them apart, but not impossible. So okay, right, so that's what looks to be the ground floor. Now it's about whether we put the bits on the outside to do the framework, etc., or whether we go onto the second floor. Let's see what the second floor looks like and how that might work. So that presumably is going to be the floor that goes up onto the second part there. You start to see how the model comes together. And the walls for the top part, I'm just going to start to slip on and see what fits where. Now we've got some little bits of lugs here, I don't know if you can see, that just need to be helped on their way. They're being cut out but not quite clipped out fully, but they're easy enough just to knock out with a craft knife, and that's done. So there's 3 there, so I'm starting to pick up clues as to where this piece needs to go on the overall frame of the building. So that's going to be the bit that goes along there like that. On the back, oh, there's another lug there that I missed, so we can soon see that on the back there, and just chop that off. You can see that there. There we go, tidy that up. So far I'm doing okay with my just 2 tools, and there we go. So that's going to go on that side, I think. That looks like it's going to be the interior. This one looks like it's on the outside. Looks to be the outside wall. Helpful, of course, if you can see a picture of one that somebody's already made online. Now I haven't had that luxury, or I have, but I don't have it in front of me. So at the moment I'm just working pretty much from, you know, eye, and from just seeing the way the pieces come together. So that looks like this is going to be the piece that goes along here. Now, in theory, of course, you could say, oh well, that fits on there, so I'll put that on there like that. The challenge there, I think, is probably going to be that actually you have a window which is then going to be part of the roof. So I'm fairly confident, therefore, that this bit actually goes on the front like this, and this bit here fits along the back like that, where there's no wall, which is obviously going to be butted up against the the other part of the roof there. Okay, so I think that makes sense. And then we've got hopefully some ends that go on here as well. So we've got a wall there that looks like that clips on that end there. Again, lugs fit in quite nicely like that. And that looks like that's on that end. And then on the other end, I'm looking for another piece of wall, which is probably going to be this piece here. I think that fits nicely on that end there, and you can see on the top there's beautifully little markings for a mark on the wall there, an engraving of some kind, which I think you'll probably see on the original photo of this building if you looked at photos from Carentan that were taken in 1944. Okay, so that's going to be my top floor, so I'm just going to move the ground floor out of the way while I put the top floor together, and this will hopefully just take a couple of moments. Nicely, he said, trying to get this bit to fit together really nicely. That goes on there, that goes on there, a little bit of wiggle. Do you ever have that problem in life where one end goes in and the other end doesn't quite? Right, so there you are. That looks to me to be the upper story in its purest form. So again, because it's used super glue, actually this is pretty much set already. So I'll stand that over there. Let's bring in the ground floor. Here's one I prepared earlier. Ground floor and first floor, which sits neatly on top, as they say. So we're getting a feel now for what this building's going to look like, and I can already tell you that it's looking pretty good, and I'm quite excited about how we might get to play with this and use it already. Alright, great stuff. So that's the ground floor and the first floor done. So I'm feeling good about that because that was really quite quick and easy to put together. Okay, next piece I'm going to do is the dormer roof, which goes on the, it's going to go on the back here and go off that way. This has got an L-shaped roof on it. It's going to go back from there and across there. So it's going to have a window on the back here and then go back and turn right. So we need to have this little dormer roof goes on here. So let's need to put that together. Should be straightforward. Just two walls, two long walls and two short walls. So let's do that. You'll see that I'm putting the long walls on first, and the reason I'm doing that is because I think it's going to be easier to slot the short walls on the ends once I've got the long walls in position. We're about to find out whether that's right or not. Now I notice on these walls that actually one of them has a line across it, which is the markings for the front of the building. One of them doesn't, so I just want to make sure that that goes on the correct part of the building. I think that's going to go on that side there then. That means on the basis that that's going to be more of the front of the hotel, the outward customer facing side of the building. So I think that's the bit that would have that line on it. It's interesting that there is definitely two sides to the MDF, and it's quite clear which bits are the bits which are supposed to be on the outside and which bits are the bits which are supposed to be on the inside. So again, tiny bit of wiggle room that you do get with super glue, and hopefully now if you click that together, that's that done, and that will set nicely. And there's your nice little window there, nice little place for you to put your MG42 up on the top of that building, and that slots nicely on top of there. It looks good, I think. Okay, so that would be where these come together. You can see now why it was that we didn't have a window along the back, and that's the way the building's starting to come together. And look, there you go, look. So I guess now I have an option about which pieces I want to make lift off. That would lift off in its own right, of course, so I could just take that part off, or I could, I guess, glue that together so that it all comes off in one go. And in terms of being robust for the war games table, that's probably the better idea, but I don't need to commit to that just yet. Let's see how the roofs work and how the roofs hang together, because that might help me to make my decision. There's going to be a separate roof on here, obviously, that goes on this piece, and the wider roof on here. Okay, so that's so far so good. Let's move that to one side. Now I'm starting to think about putting the roof together, and what I see immediately is that there's some chimneys involved with this particular building, and I'm very interested to see how that's going to work, because there's nothing on the diagram about how they go, so I'm guessing that it will become clear when I start to make the roof. There is one long chimney which appears to be something that comes together like that, I'm guessing, where it's got cuts in the stonework to allow an angled part to go on the roof. So I'm guessing that that would fit on the roof somewhere when I get to that point. And I've got another one here which I think also needs to go somewhere. Now I'm thinking at the moment that I can only find 3 bits that go with that. The other bit's probably buried under here, or perhaps it's a 3-sided chimney. We will see. Or I guess, of course, it's possible, although rather unlikely, that I've mislaid that bit somewhere. So we'll just have to see where that goes and how that pans out. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is try to make the dormer, the window for the ceiling for the small part of the building that I made just now. So that's that bit there. Then I'm going to make the ceiling that goes on this part. The ceiling, I mean the roof, in fact. So there are some bits in here that are marked front and back to help me make sure I get this right. And I notice that on the instructions there's a piece here that says around how I make sure that the long chimney will slot into this roof. So we'll see how that will go together. So it's got some extra holes in here, but basically, let me see if I can get this right. So I think that goes in like that, which means that that bit there goes in like that. And I need to keep this small hole at the top here, because that's where the chimney is going to go, and that will go on like that. Okay, right, so I think I'm happy enough we can glue that on. Here we go, let's get some glue going. So there's a glue on there, there's a glue on there, some glue on here. Right, so keeping the square at the top, that's how I had it before. That should go in there. That goes on there like that. I'm trying to keep the words front and back, actually, so they are interior to the ceiling, to the roof, because I don't really want my building to have front and back written on the outside of it. I think that would be a pretty dumb move. Okay, I've got glue on there already, so hopefully I should just be able to plug these in. In you go. Come on, Charlie. the back part done, and then with the old famous wiggle we're in on the front as well, and that is the roof that will go on there. Now there's a chimney that needs to go in the part on the top of that. I'm not really sure whether it's the long one or the short one, to be fair, but let's imagine it might be the long one. That will go on like that. Well, that looks rather splendid, and the sort of thing that my long-term gaming colleague Richard Clark will probably snap off in about 30 seconds, but it's going to need a little bit of trimming, and to be fair, it does say in the instructions that there might need to be a little bit of trimming to make that fit neatly, but actually, you know what, it's minimal. I don't know if you can see on the camera there, but there's a tiny little gap that you just want to trim that down probably, but easily done, and I'll probably do that in a moment. Right, so if that is the long chimney that goes in there indeed. Very good, so that's that part of the roof. Let's move on to the other part of the roof and see how that goes. Well, we've got some big bits, and we've got some not so big bits, and we've got what look to be interior bits, and I think that's probably what I'm going to be needing to put the roof together. Okay, well, let's see then. I'll keep finding these 3 bits of chimney. I haven't found the 4th bit yet, which is worrying me a little bit, but anyway, let's move on. So let's see how this goes. Let's see if I can put a dry run through and work out how this goes. So I'm reckoning that that might go in there like that. That looked kind of logical. There's lots of marks on here because there are dormer roofs as well to go on here as well, but that looks like they would go in there like that. That would seem logical like that, wouldn't it? Put those on there, that there, that there, that there, that there probably. Those bits appear to go in there, right? And then we've got the angles on the outside, so we've got a bit of roof that goes on there. I just need to work out how that fixes, and also a piece that's going to go on this end like that. I just need to work out how that fixes. But I think the main thing to do is to start with the central part of that, and therefore what we have over here then becomes, I think, and not only do I think, I know because it actually says so in the instructions if I've looked, is that this piece will fit on like that. So we get a support for the outside of the roof. Right, but basically let's get these bits on and see where we go from there. There are dormer markings on the side of this roof, and I'm going to put dormer windows on, and I'm thinking that actually this is going to be a bare piece of wood on the outside. That's, if I don't think about how I'm going to paint this, this is going to be visible from the outside because the dormer's going to go through and we'll see the bare wood, and I won't be able to get in to paint it. And it does say in the instructions, here we go, look, it says here, tip, paint the inside of the dormers before gluing on the dormer roofs. So that is a good idea. Top tip of the day from Mr. Farron, to paint the inside of the dormers before you do the rest of it. So I'm going to make sure that I do that in a moment. Now I'll put the lid back on the glue, and let's see if we can get the ends of the roof on. So the end of the roof we reckon is putting on a, there we go, that would go on like that with that on the outside. So okay, let's get on and do that. I'm really pleased with how quickly actually this is going together. It can't be very long ago that I started the actual build on the model itself, and actually what I thought was going to be a horrendously long process is beautifully simple. Glue that support in there, and then I'll move across to this one, and I'll glue this support in over this side as well. That's great. Let's see how that looks now against the overall thing. So we've got the roof that's there, I've got the smaller roof that's here, I've got the inside of that, and we've got the main building, itself. So let's bring that over here. We've got the two floors go together there. We've got the there we go. That's going on there like that. You can make sure that so you can see that on the camera is probably quite important. You might like to see what it looks like after all. That's going to go on there like that, and this is going to go on the top. So we've got an interesting looking piece of building now, and there is a little notch on the side of this roof here, which tells me that this is where my chimneys are going to go. So that's fab. Good. Now what I do notice is that it is important that this roof does go on the right way round, because it's got on the, this is the back and front thing is important, because the back there is where you want the lugs for the chimney, and so the roof goes on like that, and then this big chimney here is going to fit in there at some stage. So I've got a decision to make here, whether I have the roof so it works like that and that bit just comes off on its own, or whether we do something else. So I've got some decisions to make, and let me have a think about what that decision is going to be. Now, what's important here is that the roof is in the right place, because this is, what I've done here, by the way, is taken off the top floor of the building, just so we can work on it more easily. And there's the roof, and I'll make sure the back is there, and we've got the roof of the main part on, so that the notch is this side round. So the chimney, which I haven't glued in place yet, but which is this long assemblage of 4 pieces, is going to fit in there like that. Again, it's not glued at the moment, so it might fall apart, but we can just balance that in and see what that's going to be. Lovely, nice big chimney. So I've now got a decision to make about how I put the roof together, and I think generally what we're going to have is the chimney, of course, is going to be glued to this piece of the roof and will be part of what detaches with that roof when you detach that roof, and therefore not part of this roof. So that's what I need to do, I think, is glue that chimney on there. And the chimney won't be finished because actually there are chimney pots, little round chimney stacks to go on the top, but I'm going to make that now and put that on. So making the chimney then, 4 bits of MDF, 2, you can see here these are cut at an angle, so these are the bits that obviously need to sit on the roof, so then these go opposite each other and the other bits will fit down the side. Again, I don't need to put glue on every single piece of this, but I will, because I don't want it coming apart. So that's angle piece next to a straight piece. Just lay that there while we do the next part. That needs to go, oops, on that bit actually, like that. In fact, I think you find will work best, Nicholas. And then in here. So I should be able to put these 2 bits together, and that should give me my roof. Now, quite a lot of super glue all over that, so I'm just going to pinch that together and just place it to one side before I glue everything in the house to it. Oops. Okay, great. Now, the chimney pots themselves are actually part of the sprue on this frame, so you can see there are, that I think is for the small chimney, and this I'm guessing is for the big chimney, so these probably need to be just cut out. So I'm going to just snip that out with my knife there. I'll probably just push it out, to be fair. Normally MDF pushes out really quite neatly, and I just need to trim the frames. So that's going to go on top of there, like that. I actually wonder if the other part sits on top of it. I might put that out and see. I wonder if that's supposed to go on top of that to give it a double height. Just trim that down. Trim that down. Now there are only 2 chimneys and 4 of these, so I'm suspicious and thinking that probably one of those goes on top of one of those to make it a double height, like that, lining up the holes in the middle. And then the little pots of chimney that have been provided can pop in there like that. There you go, and there's your chimney pot. And I think that's probably what's supposed to happen. Okay, great. And we've got some of these that will go in to do that and to make that work. Fabulous. Okay, so we'll just put some blob of glue on there. Put the glue in the right place. It should. I'll make both these now, but I don't know. I might not use the other chimney. We'll see. So that's going to go one on top of there like that. Making sure the holes are lined up, of course, so the chimney pots can pop through. Line that up on there like that. As you can see, that hopefully you can work out that it goes through the chimney pots, and then just go through there, line up beautifully, hopefully. Now I'm going to make the smaller of the 2 chimneys. I found the piece that I couldn't find earlier on. It was sitting at the bottom of the bag there. So this is going to take no time at all, I think, just to pop some glue on here. So there we go, that's going to go on there like that. Then fits together really beautifully, simply. Bit of glue on there, and a bit of glue on there. And then all I need to do is make sure I get the V part in the right place there, so it's opposite the other existing V on the chimney, so that tells me that I need to put that piece there. And this piece, which is just square at the bottom, that needs to go in there. And again, there we go. There's a nice short square chimney, and I could leave it as just a square chimney like that because that works really, really well. But it seems a shame to waste these lovely chimney pots that we've got here. So let's glue that on there. Bit of super glue, which again will keep the whole thing together as well, and pop those on the top. And Bob's your auntie's living lover. There you are. That's just what you need. That just pops on there, and that should hold really well. Provided I don't stick with my fingers, which is the risk with super glue, of course. Right. Okay. So I'm pretty happy with that. That's on, and I just need to work out where that's going to go on the model now. So let's just put that to one side, and perhaps when we go back to the roof, we can see where that fits. Let's have a look. Where is it going to fit? Well, I don't know actually. It'll probably need some trimming. Just need to trim off those lugs, which is easily done. But it could go anywhere on this main roof, I guess. You know, we're not interior designers. We don't really have to do the interior chimney design, so it could go anywhere there, or it could go on the end there, I guess. So that would be rather unlikely because there's a window below it, and most chimneys don't go through windows. So probably going to be on the far end of the building, I would imagine, something like that. Okay. Good, so I'm happy with where we are so far, or perhaps even this end next to the other chimney. Maybe I could look at the picture of the hotel and see which is correct. So perhaps it goes there, who knows. Right, okay, anyway, so we'll come back to that. I don't need to put that on just yet. And that pretty much is the building complete, apart from the dormer windows and the window frames. Now, you remember when we discussed the dormer roof, and we said actually in the instructions it says that you should make sure that the inside of the dormer roof is sprayed black or is painted before you put the outside on. The reason, of course, is that once you put the dormer together and have the window on the front, you'll be able to look through, and when you look through, you'll see the bare wood behind. So the inside of these dormer buildings needs to be painted before they go on, and also the bits where the dormer are going to be on the roof need to be painted as well before they go on. And so what I'm going to do at this point is reach for my old trusty can of Halford's matte black spray paint. I do a lot of undercoating with this. Sometimes you need to prime, but it's actually a really good general black spray paint. Halford's is a what do they sell? Motor accessories. So you know, if you want to get some screen wash for your car, or some oil for your car, or if you want to spray your car in bizarre colours, they have quite a selection of wonderful colours that you could use to do that. But I'm going to spray these with this now to give this and coating that actually will work, and actually will put a black on the inside of those windows that will mean that we don't have an issue with it when it's on the table. Okay, so as you can see, I've sprayed the entire roof black actually, because it was just easier to do that. And I'm going to spray the whole thing anyway after I finish putting it together, so that's not a problem. And I've also sprayed these dormer window sprue black as well, but the inside element of it, so I've got to make sure that those bits are the bits that go on the inside. I've only sprayed one side, so hopefully I've got that right. We'll see whether I did or not, but hopefully if I didn't, I can just touch it up with a brush anyway. Let's see how we go. Right, so I'm going to start to make the dormer then, I think, and let's see how that works. So let's punch out one of these and see what we do. Let's see how the dormer works. Now, there is an instruction on the dormer. It says, glue the two dormer sides to the roof, then place the window in the slot and rock back into place. Glue on the top brace with the arrow up. Glue the triangle in place, then the large roof panel on the right. Okay, did you get that? So glue the two dormer sides to the roof, then place the window in the slot and rock back into. So these are the two dormer sides. Glue those onto the roof. Now the roof of the dormer is these bits here, and this bit here is going to be the front, of course. So we just need to think about how this is going to sit on the window. Let's see. So for instance, we've got a long, you can see we've got a long lug and a short lug. This lug is slightly longer than the short lug. And on here we've got a long hole and a short hole. So that's promising. So I think they would sort of go together like this, if I can get my logic right. I want the black bit on the inside, don't forget, for me, if that's going to work. We'll see if it will or not. So that goes there, that goes there. The roof support looks like it goes through the middle like that. Okay, oopsie daisy, that goes through there. Yep, follow logic so far. That seems to go on like that. I think that would go through the top of the dormer there, and then the roof goes on there. So okay, let's be ballsy. Could be a bad idea, but let's go for it. So I'm ignoring the, well, not ignoring the advice of the men who designed it, but I'm just doing it in a way that I'm following out their instructions in a way that makes sense to me. Okay, So far so good, so that's going to go on top of there like that. So then we're going to have the dormer angles are going to come in looking like this, I think. It's safe to say that they go like that, and the window will be therefore on the front like that. Does that look logical to you? Looks logical to me, right? And there you have the roof with dormers. The only thing I need to do now is add the chimney. So the chimney, the short chimney is going to go, that's where the big chimney is going to come through there, so the shorter chimney is going to go over this end here, isn't it? So if you remember when we made this, there was just a few lugs on there that needed to be trimmed so that it would sit flush, and I just need to do that now. So nice and easy done. Okay, trim those through. Not worry too much if it's a rough fit, because we're going to put some additional weathering materials around it anyway, but that's going to go on there pretty much like that, I think, isn't it? So that's where that needs to go. There we go. Tie that up just a little bit more. Get a flusher fit. A liberal dowsing of the old you-know-what. And there you can see the second of the two chimneys. Just want now to put this final chimney on the side roof here. So that's easily done to finish off that part roof there. Some super glue over that like that. Enough super glue to hopefully hold it in place while my gaming chums pick it up and destroy it, no doubt. We'll see how well that lasts out. And that's the roof completed. Okay, so that's the basic model completed. I'm happy with that. I think it looks really fantastic. I haven't yet put on the doors and windows, the surroundings for those. Now the reason for that is that I intend to spray the walls with a texture spray paint to give a look of plaster, which will then help the overall look of the building. And I'm going to put these on after I've done that so that I don't swamp them and cover them in that same gooey paint. And of course I'm not going to use that spray paint in my dining room, because that would be a bad idea. Definitely a bad idea. Basically because it's not great to spray paints indoors anyway, because the ventilation isn't great and some of those fumes are quite nasty, but also because my missus would absolutely kill me if she knew that I was using spray paint in the dining room, and she'd be right to do so. So whatever you do, don't use spray paint in the dining room. But I'm going to take this away. I'm going to give it a spray. I'm not too worried about whether or not some of the spray goes in through the windows, because the inside of the model is fairly basic, and actually it doesn't really bother me too much if I get a bit of that spray paint through that window, because I'm going to respray the whole thing anyway. And then I'll come back and we can do the outside, put the extra bits on. So I'm going to go and do that now, and when I come back we'll see the effect. So here then is the paint that I'm going to use for that. It's just a spray mineral brown spray can of texture paint. You can see on the lid here that actually the texture is a bit rougher, so it gives a stone look, and it's just a nice way to get that effect that I want on the overall look of the building. So just pick this up from my local hardware store, as you might say, and I've used it before and I know that this will give us a good effect. So let's go and do that now and then come back and see how it looks. So as you can see, what I've done is just given it a spray and I've just wiped around the top edges of the lower floor to make sure that the top is dry and it fits neatly with the upper floor. Okay, so now while the walls are outside drying in the sun, I can actually put the ridge tiles onto the roof using the plastic sprue and get those on so that the roof can be nearer to completion. I've taken the decision that I'm going to keep with the roof tiles that are on here. I did wonder if the roof tiles were high enough detail and whether I wanted to add some more tiles. I know, for instance, that companies like wall bases do tiles that you can add, but I've chosen actually to keep it simple, and I think that what I'm going to do is just go with what's in the box. So I'm going to start to add those now while the rest of the stuff dries outside. Now I'm quite expecting that I won't get this quite right, but I also know that I'm going to be able to fill the gaps with using some polyfiller, and again, because I'm using super glue, I'm trying not to glue my fingers to the model. Which is easier said than done. Good, okay, so we're getting that part nicely on there as well, and then I just need a tiny bit to go on this end. And I'm thinking I might not even put that on for now. I might just wait to do that out of green stuff when the time comes, because I'm a little bit worried about how much I've got in terms of doing these bits as well on this last remaining piece of card here. Might be tight. So anyway, we'll get this on and we'll see how they go as well. So I want one there which is about that long, which is about there in my book. Okay, so we want 6 of those. So I think that's going to take up most of my length actually. And there. Another one. See. There's one here that I can trim. Which actually gives an off-cut about the size of the bit that I want on there actually. I do quite like that one, they're a bit more central though, it's a little bit offside. There we go, I think I'll get away with that. Just about. Just about. Okay. I'm going to use this tiny little offcut to put on the end here. I guess the other side of that is it also makes the chimney a little bit more secure as well, possibly, or possibly not. But that will just sit on there. And again, I'll be able to polish that off when we come to finish off the roof, and that will look a little bit less ridiculous than perhaps it does at the moment. Okie dokie. Let's see if the walls are dry, shall we? So now I've sprayed the outer walls there. You can see that that paint has dried off. It's touch dry anyway. It's only been half an hour since I sprayed it, but out in the sunshine it's dried off quite quickly. So we've got the various parts of the roof, and over here, back part, front part, we can see going on there. Let's twist that around so you can get a view of all of it. The roof will go on there, and the roof. Oopsie daisy, it will go on there. Oops. Let me just, if I can line things up right, that is. Okay. That's the wonder of the hotel as it stands at the moment. You can see there, hopefully. All we need to do now then is start putting the window frames on. So let's get to work on that immediately. So the kit comes with this wonderful layout of windows and doors, and let's go around putting those on. At the moment I'm uncertain about whether I'm going to put on the main front of the sign. What I'm thinking is I might do it with a magnet on the back, so that I could perhaps have different ones, because sometimes I might want this to be a French hotel, and sometimes I might want it to be a Belgian inn, or even a, because you could get away with it from being a Dutch building, but I don't necessarily want it to be branded as French. So I'm just thinking about whether I put those on as standard or not, but let's do the doors and windows anyway. So we've got what looks like 2 square doors and 3 round ones, so I don't know where they're going to go at the moment. We've got on the outside here, door shapes are square. Here we've got a square door on this side, that's a square door, round door, round door, round door, 2 square doors. So I think that's pretty clear that they're the 2 square doors that go on the square doors, and the round doors go on the round doors. It's good this, isn't it? Okay, that's all the doorways done. Now we just need to do the windows. Now there are different types of windows. Again, we've got square windows, which I'm thinking go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 around the lower ground floor. We've got 4 large windows here. Now I'm trying to work out where they might go. Looks to me like they go on the upstairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. So that's not right. Oh, maybe they're the ones that are these ones here. Perhaps they're right. Oh no, there's another one of those there. So there's 5 of those there as well. Right, okay, so I think I can be fairly confident about which window goes where. So I'll better get on and do that. There's another small window here in the front of here, which explains where that 5th one goes. Now the wonderful thing about these windows is that obviously they're very much in the French style, of the long open in the centre, you know, open full windows. Quite nice idea to think about whether or not I might open those on the model. It is cut in a way that you could do that. I just don't know whether I will or not. Very easily therefore also to do these windows broken or damaged, so doing a battle damaged version of the building is not actually too difficult. Might need to make some other changes to the windows, etc., but actually to the doors and the walls, everything looks that it would fit quite well. Okay, so you can see the windows there going on, but really quite nice. Good. Let's do some of the others. I'll finish these windows off now, and then we'll come back and have a look at the rest of the building to see how it looks when the windows are complete. Okay, so there we are, the windows are done, the model is finished in its basic form. There's still a little bit more to do in terms of going around and touching up some of the edges and filling in some of the gaps around where I put the plastic. There's also still the question of what I do with the sign that goes on the front of the hotel, and for the moment I'm not going to worry about that. I think if I do that I'll add that probably last or quite near the end. But the basic build is done. I'm really happy with the overall look of it. It's going to be a masterful centerpiece actually on any table. So it's what we're going to do now is end this video at this point, and we'll come back and do the rest of the model where we do the paintwork, fill in the gaps, add any bits and pieces that we might want to put on the model to make it look a bit more interesting, although to be fair that's going to be very minimal, and then it'll be ready for the table. So basically that's it, it's done. Now if you've enjoyed watching this, then you probably should get out a bit more, but also please leave your comments in the box below under the screen on YouTube, where you can tell us what you think. If you think I'm mad to just be using a bit of super glue and a craft knife to get this done, then please let us know that as well. And we'd also love to know what else you'd like to see from us on Lard TV. This is just one project that we're going to be pushing through. You'll see this building to completion, and there are others as well that Richard will be building. Plus we'll be bringing you lots of games and other content as well. So please let us know what you'd like to see. We hope you've enjoyed watching this, and we look forward to seeing you next time on Lard TV.